Ladies and gentlemen, oh my god, what's that coming down the track? Oh, it's packed. It's the Seatin hate train. Oh my god, it's fully loaded this time, and it's coming straight at me. No, no! Now, today, the forums don't like me, and can you blame them, man? Some days, I'm not the biggest fan either, but this forum thread has got a little bit wild, and there are a lot of people saying that I've said certain things that I didn't say. And it's gotten like really crazy, man, and there's just so much hate and so much negativity that I just wanted to take the opportunity to respond to it and kind of clear up a few points as well, because I think there's been a bit of a mischaracterization as to my opinion on certain stuff, and I just wanted to take the opportunity to clarify while further expanding my thoughts so we can have a well-rounded discussion on Cavalier difficulty. Now, before we start, I want to just also very clearly highlight that for Cavalier difficulty, it is a bit of a beast because there are so many players at different levels trying to complete Cavalier difficulty, and they're on this spectrum from they've just got Cavalier all the way up to they've done 100% Abyss of Legends in the first couple of days, and that was really, really easy for them. And we're going to call this end of the spectrum the sweaty boys. Now, I myself, I'm a very sweaty boy. I'm one of the sweatiest boys out there. I'm right at the end of the spectrum, man. I've got like, you know, pretty much any character that is going to be best for a certain encounter, like fully maxed out. But yeah, again, there's that opposite end of the spectrum that have just about kind of put a team together to do Cavalier and get through the initial challenge. And the thing is, for Cavalier difficulty is, at least for the completion side, you need to make this end of the spectrum happy. And for the sweaty boys side, they're going to find everything easy. Like, if you've got a fully maxed out roster, like myself, of every single character in the game, like nothing is going to be too much of a challenge when it comes to this game, unless there's something crazy like the Abyss of Legends or the Summer of Pain event. So he starts off talking about how he really enjoys kind of the new fun and challenging nodes and kind of the combinations that buff up certain characters. And I can agree. Again, if you've got the right characters, really, really fun. And I do mention this in my video several times. We'll have a look at that in a second. He says, I think people are too focused on the rewards, which do need improvement. Again, something else we can agree on as well. The difficulty is fair. I think the difficulty is fair, again, if you do have the right characters for the right nodes as well. He says, I don't think enough people are applauding Kabam's work in making Cavalier difficulty both fun and challenging. Seatin called it a massive fail, which I did in my title, and I do stand by that for kind of the core objectives that are outlined in the post that it aimed to achieve, and we'll talk about those in a little bit as well. Seatin and most other players said they wanted both fun and challenging nodes in future content. Yeah, I do, and I think if you got the right characters again, these are both fun and challenging nodes as well. Seatin said that it was also too tedious, but he 100% explored it in 2 days. And I actually didn't say this. I did not say it was too tedious for me. If you actually listen to the video, I don't believe I said it was too tedious for myself. I believe I said it was exactly the opposite. So let's have a bit of a listen. I like the buff nodes. They're really fun if you have the right characters and the right counters for these nodes. But if you don't, then you're slogging away at over 200,000 hit point fights. And across Cavalier difficulty, even outside of the bosses, there are many fights that extend to the 300,000 to 350,000 region. And if you have like the perfect counter for that node combination, again, it's a pretty good time. It's a pretty fun time. However, for progressing players and lesser developed rosters, man, it can be like a bit of a slog. If you don't have the perfect champion ranked up, it's going to be a very, very bad time. So here, I was making the point that needed to be made. It's like, if you got the best champions, the best counters, these nodes are really fun. However, for the science one, for example, there are so many characters that you just can't even use in that chapter because of the diss track node. So if you've got like Human Torch or Void or Captain America Infinity War, like fully maxed out, you're laughing, you're having a great time. But if you rely maybe on like Red Hulk or Wasp or OG Hulk, or a character that doesn't have consistent debuffs like being applied to the opponent, it makes the quest so much more of a slog in comparison to those beyond god tier characters that already rinse everything, and thus locks out a lot of options for progressing players that may have not gotten as lucky as you have if you're a sweaty boy that's been grinding this game for 5 and a bit years and has every beyond god tier character. And also, my thoughts over on Cavalier difficulty is, I said a couple of times there. The nodes are very fun if you got the right characters. And just to go back to the end of the video as well, we'll have a quick listen here. Again, being in my scenario, being a massive blubbery whale, where I can just spend and get through everything, and I have like every single character in the game, it's fine for me difficulty-wise, but the rewards, they really do suck. They're just not exciting at all, man. And I'll do 100% every single month for like live stream content and a bit of fun, because I did find it enjoyable and fun as somebody who has the you know, perfect counter to everything. But again, another scenario where I mentioned it's enjoyable and fun as somebody that has the perfect counter to everything there. I don't call it tedious from my personal own perspective as a massive whale that had the perfect counter to everything. What I was aiming to do in this video is highlight like the lack of rewards versus the initial base roster you need and all of the counters and specific champions to get through the certain nodes and the certain boss fights in order to get some very underwhelming completion rewards. And on top of that, the exploration rewards are also very lacking as well. And the rest of this paragraph is really about how I found it tedious because I burned myself out. When I didn't find it tedious, I found it fun. And if you watch the live stream, you can see we're having a lot of fun, especially against Apocalypse and Professor X, man. It was a really, really good time. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the live stream and I enjoyed the content myself there. And I don't think I referred to my experience as tedious. I just kind of put it out there that, again, if you don't have the right counters, the right champions to fully take advantage of and counter these nodes, that everything is balanced with the inflated damage that you get from the booster nodes. So if you don't have a character that utilizes the booster, then it is going to be, you know, a bit of a slog, a bit of a bad time, and a bit tedious as well. But I didn't call my experience tedious, so yeah, I just wanted to like clarify that up, man, because I had fun with Cavalier difficulty myself. But obviously on this channel, I like to try and put out a perspective from somebody that has a massive whale account, but also approaches stuff from a free-to-play account as well. I know what I have on my free-to-play account, I know what I can get through, and I know if I was trying to 100% Cavalier on my free-to-play, either one of them actually, that it would be a tedious experience because I'd have to use characters that weren't entirely optimal for the nodes, and thus it would just kind of make a lot of the fights and scenarios a bit of a slog. So scrolling down, we got a few additional posts from people that enjoyed Cavalier difficulty, but I think the general consensus overall, which again is really like 90% of this video, if you do watch this video, I'm just talking about how the rewards suck versus the effort, roster, and time required to 100% Cavalier difficulty in comparison to like everything else in the game. Like that's kind of the big point that I'm making overall with Cavalier difficulty, but I do also think some changes need to be made to the nodes to make it more inclusive for people that don't have specific counters to certain stuff as well. And I wanted to kind of get that all out there yesterday. So yeah, lots of people really enjoyed it with expanded rosters, but want to see the rewards bumped up a little bit. This person does not like me at all. Personally, I felt Seatin to be a whiny, spoiled kid, so I stopped watching him regularly. I only tune in for things like Act 6.4 or Abyss of Legends Collector. I cringe at his gameplay though, but he's usually the first to stream it, so might as well give him the view. He said the restrictions were annoying, but there are none. There are restrictions. If you're acquiring like 3 debuffs to deal any damage to the opponent, that is a restriction. If you're acquiring 3 buffs to deal any damage to the opponent, that is a restriction. You know, it is the restriction because you can't get around those fights unless you have a character that brings that piece of utility to the table and can execute it for a long period of time. He says he has all the best counters to all the fights and best options, but I really think he lacks skills. I did most of it with 4-star because the global really helps your champs. I had fun using my 4-star Nick Fury and Doom since I don't whale out for champs. Well, son, I'll have you know factually, I don't think we spent a single revive to 100% Cavalier. So, boy, I got a little bit of skill, man. Mainly a massive roster, but a little bit of skill as well. I really don't understand the comparison with Variant 5. It made no sense and is incredibly dumb. Perm content usually has better rewards than single monthly EQ. I can see why the changes are annoying to the reward system for uncollected, but the rate at which these players progress nowadays is something of consideration. And I read this as well a fair bit yesterday, People are like, Seatin, you can't compare, bro. You can't compare Variant 5 and Cavalier difficulty, man. Variant 5 is permanent content, bro. There's no comparison there. And then I replied to that, what about Mutant Treasure Island, where you do one easy path and you get, 1,000 6-star shards and 7,500 5-star shards. That's, a significant amount more than the completion of Cavalier. And then they were like, oh, you can't compare the side event to Cavalier difficulty. And then it's like, what can I compare? Like, whatever you want to compare? I think it's fair to compare anything for the amount of, time, effort, and roster required, comparatively speaking. Because, it's still, what you're investing into your champions, what you're investing into your roster, and the hassle you've got to go through to get something done. And also, historically speaking, when Uncollected was first released, it always had much better rewards in comparison to the side event. It wasn't for a very long time until we started to see 1,000 6-star shards popping up at the absolute maximum on the side event, and now this month's side event has the same rewards in terms of 6-star shards. Actually, I think a fair amount more, including both legendary and epic difficulty, than 100% Cavalier. Any way you want to compare the rewards, bro, they suck. It's very, very easy to do this comparison as well. So yeah, I was reading through this. I was like, I don't know, man. It just doesn't like me. It's fair enough, man. I get it. Not everybody's going to like me, man. And I certainly don't blame them at all. So this one, for 1 or 2 years now, Seatin has stopped being fun and informative. He just asks to be a spoiled kid who has no patience or skills to play hard content. He asks too much. Reward this, reward that, nerf this, nerf that. Frankly, I believe his time is gone. He needs to calm down and maybe play another game. Don't play this game. This would be his biggest contribution to community. This month's Cavalier is great. I have nothing to say, but well done, Kabam. So, yeah, this guy doesn't like me very much. But fair enough, man. Fair enough. He's completely entitled to it. This one, man, this one was so bad. It just made me chuckle, bro. I'm actually really disappointed to see some of the content creator program members complaining about this. There have been a few others besides Seatin as well. It's you're coming after content creator program members for voicing their opinions and concerns about Cavalier difficulty. It's just because you somehow think that anybody in the CCP has to just constantly sing Kabam's praises and can never provide any sort of additional feedback. That's just stupid, bro. That's so stupid. But overall, he enjoyed Cavalier difficulty and had a fun time. So definitely good for him. However, this is another one. Seatin, for me, is turning to just crystal openings, trying to push the time on videos, and just overall complaints to appeal his base. My videos are just stretched out crystal openings and rants, and in all fairness, man, this one you're watching right now is. But if we even look at the channel, man, that's not even true. You just bring up my channel, bro. Okay, that one yesterday, that's a bit of a rant, but that is Treasure Island Guide and gameplay, crystal opening there. He's right on that one. Then we got gameplay, bro. Gameplay, praising Magneto buffs, gameplay as well, more gameplay, abilities breakdown, gameplay, patch notes, gameplay. So if that salty boy stops circle jerking the hate train for about 10 seconds and open the channel, I think he could see that there is a lot more to this channel than rant videos and crystal openings. But going on, we have Spidey Funko. This is why BG is one of the best YouTubers out there. That's just a fact, man. Brian Grant is definitely one of the best YouTubers out there. So mad love to Brian Grant. I think Seatin should just stick to 7 Deadly Sins. He seems to be really enjoying playing it. This is kind of like a backhanded compliment. But yeah, I'm really enjoying 7 Deadly Sins, but I also really enjoy Marvel Contest of Champions. But it doesn't mean that we need to build a wall between gamers, man, you know? Should be able to play this game and enjoy it and voice my honest feedback and concerns, and also able to enjoy and play 7 Deadly Sins. Here, I want to give a little bit of love to Shaggy M, one of the only people in in this thread that actually watched and listened to the video. He says, I think many have missed Seatin's overall point. I don't think he was criticizing the difficulty as much as the difficulty compared to the rewards, and furthermore, other content that is less time consuming, easier, and has better rewards. It was more about the overall effect on the monthly, like changing completion rewards for uncollected, for example, but I didn't hear that he said it was hard, just niche. And Shaggy, thank you so much, dude, because that is exactly what I said. I didn't say it was hard for me, bro. I wasn't sweating. I wasn't having a tedious time in it, bro. I was rolling through it, man. But I just want to see, like, better rewards and some of the nodes opened up to be more accessible to lesser developed rosters. Those are, like, the two big things I'm looking for them to improve on Cavalier difficulty, where I think they've really failed with this first iteration. And then just to scroll down a little bit as well, like, because the OP and so many people have said that I think it's, like, tedious and far too difficult, which are stuff that I didn't say overall for my personal roster. People are like, to disagree with Seatin, I don't think the content is too difficult. Like, that's not what I say. I say it's, like, too niche. It's too specific in terms of the characters that you have. I think if you got the right characters, again, the difficulty is fine. The nodes and combinations are very, very fun as well. But my honest perspective just hasn't been presented in this post. And then, like, loads of people are disagreeing with, like, a point that I don't make and then just bashing me for it. So yeah, I hate being a YouTuber, man. It's so much fun when the forums definitely get on one. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to take this opportunity just to clarify some of my thoughts and opinions on Cavalier difficulty. Now, I want to end just by clarifying one more time for people in the back what my thoughts are on Cavalier difficulty. I think for the roster, time and effort it requires to 100% and also complete Cavalier difficulty, the rewards are very underwhelming and need a bit of a bump up. So I really hope that we see that update next month. And also, I think if you have the right characters and counters for certain nodes and scenarios, then they can be very, very fun. There are certain nodes like the tech one, for example, that just sucks. It's very underwhelming. I think it only really works consistently with, like, vision, and most people don't kind of have a fully maxed out 5 or 6 star version of vision. So yeah, the tech one's really underwhelming and makes that chapter a little bit of a slog by comparison. And I think, again, for any chapter, if you don't have a character that synergizes really well with the node, it can be very tedious, it can be a slog, and it can be just a bit of a bad time. However, if you're a massive blubbery whale, if you're in the sweaty boys category, you've done 100% Abyss of Legends, you've done 100% Act 6, you know, you've got all the best counters for every single node, then yeah, it's going to be a fairly straightforward time and a really fun time to do. It's more the players that have just got Cavalier and are just getting Cavalier, because one thing you need to keep in mind for the health of the game is we always need people to be coming up and aspiring and progressing to get to the end game content. They need to have a path that at least gives them the easy completion and also gives them a decent enough stack of rewards so that when Cavalier does come around every single month, it's a really exciting thing. They're really excited to jump into the event, tackle like Professor X and Apocalypse, and isn't this kind of niche node Fiesta that walls out the majority of their roster. So that's something Kabam really do need to keep in mind and go back to the drawing board. And I think there are some simple solutions with a lot of the nodes that they've added in place. For example, the Science one diss track, they could have a new node that is like Science Champions also apply like a very small incinerate or poison or damage over time effect on every single attack. So that just gives every science character the basic utility in order to counter the diss track node. And same thing with the buffed up node as well. They could have like cosmic champions, the heavy attack whenever you use it, gives you like a permanent very small like 1% fury buff. They could give certain classes the utility that is needed to counter the nodes while also having these god tier champions that also take massive existing advantage of the additional buffs that are already in place as well. So I think there's some very clever stuff that they could do to make Cavalier more widely accessible, and maybe those are some of the solutions that I should have presented a bit more clearly in yesterday's video. So I think with a few tweaks to how some of the nodes and interactions function, and also bringing an additional node into each chapter that makes every character of that class like interesting and relevant in some way, or at least like baseline viable for that chapter, I think is a really, really good start. But yeah, they do need to do a little bit of of work, but the rewards do need a massive, massive overhaul in my opinion. But again, I do think Cavalier difficulty, the nodes and combinations are fun. If you're a massive blubbery whale, if you are a sweaty boy, if you got the perfect counters, a massively stacked up endgame roster, if you got the resources just to splurge into certain beyond god tier 4-star champions that are just amazing for certain nodes, it's very fun. But you just got to keep in mind, people are coming up, man. They got rosters to build in like 10 different directions. You've got like Alliance Quest, Alliance War, all 5 variants as well. You have Alliance War Defense. You got to look at Act 6 in the future. Maybe think about Abyss Labyrinth of Legends as well. And between characters, there is a little bit of overlap, but there are already so many directions where players need to build out their roster that Cavalier difficulty and the monthly event quest should be a little bit more general, at least in my personal opinion. At least for the completion of it, exploration, if they want to buff up their rewards, I can maybe understand, but for completion, there needs to be something. As soon as a player hits Cavalier, they should have the option and potential and also excitement to want to dive into Cavalier difficulty, have a bit of fun, and get some really nice rewards as well. So ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on Cavalier difficulty. If you did enjoy it, please do smash that like button. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.